Hey everybody, welcome back. Today, honestly, I just feel like rambling about something a little different from the usual thing that I don't even know what the usual is anymore. But different from the last few things that I rambled on. This is about the loneliness epidemic. Um, and some people believe in it, some people don't. I just feel like there is stuff to be said about it, regardless of where you stand on it. Now, I like to start by saying, regardless of if you believe in it or don't, you have to know that to an extent it does exist and it's completely manufactured. And it's not manufactured in the way that you necessarily think it is, at least in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people are very quick to think that they have a solution. Like, for example, the male loneliness epidemic. The people that usually parade that are the same people that create that because you have all these men that are constantly being told that you don't need anyone but yourself. You can be this strong person, this strong soldier all by yourself, carry the burdens of life and everything on your back. And if things become a bit too much, rely on your girlfriend. But on the other side of that, a lot of women are being told, like, hey, you can do better. You know, we watched the older generation get yelled at and treated as um, emotional support for people that didn't want to go outside base to get help. And it adds a lot of stress to everyone's life. And that's why I love this wave of people pushing for others to get mental help, health help, regardless of what you do for it, therapy or not. There are tons of avenues to explore, but keep blaming. We just can't keep blaming the same things when the real perpetrator behind all this kind of just sits in the background. Now, um, I feel like the loneliness epidemic, uh, it it encompasses more than just males. Uh, that much we can at least that much we at least need to agree on, because there's a lot of people that's like, oh, males are the loneliest. It's harder for males to make friends. It's harder for males to get into relationships. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's, I mean, I can't say if it's harder or easier from everyone's personal experience, but all I can say is that for every male that thinks that, there is a female that also thinks that it's hard for them. I see tons of women that are like, "Oh, it's easy for guys to make friends." Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's harder for women to make friends. And then on the other side of the spectrum, there's like, "Oh, man, it's hard to make friends." Now, all of this is manufactured. All of it's manufactured. Social media has engineered people to be against each other. Social media has engineered people to be hostile against each other by default. Hostile, angry, ready to just fight at any just just for the smallest reasons. Like, you could just say, I like mozzarella cheese, and someone else would be like, I like Parmesan. And then it can be a fight from that. One's peak, one's mid. Kill yourself. Don't kill yourself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's a whole thing. And like all that happened pretty much because of the bots, because of the rage bait algorithm. They figured out that if they can make you angry, they can keep you on that app longer. And it's more than just politics. It's more than just politics. But politics is one of the easiest ways to keep you on that app. If you're very into politics, they will throw you the best possible combination of people to keep you on that app. And they will be some of the worst things that you will read. And they will probably not even come from a person themselves, but it's all in the name of keeping you on the app, keep you on the website, whatever. So, rage bait, bots. Okay. I feel like another thing to blame, just rich people trying to consistently tell you that what you're doing is bad, in the sense of wanting to seek out friendship and wanting to seek out approval of others. Now, Approval of others, that's something that humanity just always does. Uh, and there are people that do like to stand outside of the box, outside of the bubble, and be a bit different. But even then, at the end of the day, everybody wants at least some form of approval. Approval that I'm not just like them. Approval of, yeah, I'm not weird. And it's why a lot of people have these, they sit in a form of safety net. Regardless of if you, regardless of what you do, there is a form of safety net that you will abide by so that you don't get judged, or at least judge worse than what you want. Even if you're someone that's like, oh, I don't care what other people think. To an extent, you do, because if you didn't think that, you wouldn't feel the need to say that. You would just continue on living. But because of all that pressure, there's also people that are afraid to live and afraid to be themselves and afraid to just like engage in communities like they used to. Everybody's afraid to be cringe. And in that regard, we kind of, I don't want to say that the communities are dead. They're definitely not. There's still there's still much life in communities, but there's just a lot of people that's being told to just leave the community. They're being told you don't need anyone. You can be a strong soldier, carry all this. You got your sword and your shield, yada yada. And when you die, you'll go to Valhalla, whatever they say. And that's not really the healthiest thing to do, especially if you are someone that's like, I'm lonely. Don't listen to the people telling you that loneliness makes you stronger, because that's only going to make you worse. And then you'll wonder, man, why do I feel like crap? Oh, it's because I keep listening to this guy that makes money off me. Tell Watching or paying this guy to make a video and tell me that being loneliness is okay. As long as I got that guy's approval. Not the approval of actual peers I can, interact with and engage in conversation with on the regular. But hey, um, I feel like another thing that also kind of harmed everything with interaction is the lack of third places. But I just remember the point before I get there. Um, we can't continue to act like it's hard to make friends when the default is to be mean. You will see tons of people online that are really quick to quote male loneliness epidemic. How many men end their lives a year because of loneliness? Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you look online, see a picture of a girl that's just conventionally attractive, and her boyfriend that's not, according to them at least, and you'll just see tons and tons of comments from other men that are like, "How did this bag that?" Or she's obviously cheating, or just other things like that. And it's like, you want people to have your back, but you can't even have that guy's back. So this is really telling of character, and we can't keep saying, "Oh, male loneliness epidemic," when we're the ones causing, we're contributing to it, like, to some extent, yes. There are factors that we can control, but there are just also other factors that cannot be controlled. How you treat other people is entirely what you can control. Now, something that can't be controlled, the death of third places, just all these like malls, hangout places, movie theaters, places like that, just closing down or closing earlier, or just having like stricter rule sets on what you can do while you're there. And while I'm fine with places putting their foot down and just having their own rules, I just think that, like, if everybody's strict, where do you want the kids to hang out? If everything is scary, where do you want the kids to hang out? Because you don't want, there's a lot of people that like want their kids to interact with other kids, but only at school, and that doesn't make sense because when you're in school, you're constantly being told to just focus, and your time to really like chit chat with your friends is if you have a free day in the class or lunch or the small bit of time you have between classes, and that's really not enough time to do anything. There's after school curriculum, but not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to have their kids do it. So you don't want your kids to go to the mall. Too scary. Okay, we want your friends to bring their friend. Do you want your kids to bring their friends to your house? No. Okay, then what do we do? What are we doing here? And so because there's like all these people that are afraid to go places or afraid to send people places, some of these places are just starting to shut down, or places that are just becoming extra strict and losing business, or just it's just a plethora of reasons. And then there's just the fact that like jobs become more and more demanding, but we don't really want to stop business. Like hey, that job that used to have 8-hour work days and you make enough to feed the family and pay bills with just the one check, and the other check of the month is savings purely. No more. Now 10 hours. Or now you need multiple jobs. And then you got people that's like, hey, that's kind of bad. It's kind of like, why should Kenny have 3 jobs just to pay rent here in a 1 bedroom? And then you're like, oh, you're just lazy. Work harder. And it's like, why are we defending this? They're taking so much away, and we're not doing enough to fight back and critique. And the people that are fighting back, they're being met with people that are just eating the boot. And it's just like, why are you eating the boot? You're losing. You're losing more while you're defending these companies overworking and underpaying their workers, or just defending decisions of this the removal of third places, and just other things like this, or telling other people to like harden their skin up, or whatever the phrase is, I can't think right now, and push out the softy, so to speak. You're losing out. You're losing out, and it all just circles back to the male only as epidemic. And you can only blame feminism so much. You can only blame women so much, because at the end of the day, it really comes back to you. Even though you can't really blame feminism, because feminism at its core is just, hey, I want more rights. Boom. Now they can get a job. Now they can have their own bank account. Now they can have their own credit card. Now they can divorce. That is what feminism is about. Now, there's a lot of people that's like, oh, feminism, I hate feminism because now women want to, yeah. And when you break down what they're saying, it's like you just don't want them to fight for rights. And you got all these people in power, and that could be a whole other thing, that just want to stomp this out. And you blaming women for not wanting to be your punchy bag anymore is just not gonna it's not gonna help you. So I'm gonna call it here for now. If you watched it this far, food for thought. Um, yeah. So I guess let me know if you believe in the loneliness epidemic or not. And I mostly just wanted to highlight how other communities also have their issue, because a lot of those things I mentioned are overlapping. They're not just male only things. But yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.